Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ole Miss After Dark. We're back with y'all once again to do our weekly gambling show. Tell you which games we like going into this week. Look back at the disaster that was last week for almost all of us. I think Hitch ended up coming out on top last week with the 2-2 record. So, what wasn't a great week for the show last week, but we're going to bounce back this week, try to make a little bit of money, and actually a tie above on top of the leaderboard now this week as well. We'll get into all that here in just a second. Before we do, though, tell you about Rhythm, the absolutely best handicapping app out there. You can download it, get a 7-day free trial. You can use all of their different stats to build your own models, or you can have the Rhythm AI builder build models for you. They also have a leaderboard for each one of the sports, whether it be WNBA, NFL, college basketball, college football, that tracks all of the different models that people have and how they are performing. And if you like what you see from those, you can just copy those models and use them. So that's a really cool feature they've added this year. So y'all go check them out. That's RITHMM in the App Store or Google Play. Download it, sign up, and you can get 7 days free and try to make the best decisions you can to make as much money as you can during this college football and NFL season. Hitch, Chad, how are we doing today, boys?
Not great considering, the debacle that was this past weekend. That State Toledo over is still hurting me because it missed by what, like a point and a half? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It was pretty close. How about you, Hitch?
I'm doing great. I'm doing real good. You'll get them this week, though, Chad. I know you're going to come back. You've got them. You've put the hard work in, and you're going to knock them dead with some great picks.
Okay. Well, none of that was true, but we'll see what happens.
I do like the positivity, though. Just kind of recapping our Week 3 picks real quick here. I went a very pedestrian 1-3 for minus 2.2 units. Takes me to 5-7 overall, minus 2.53 units on the season. Hitch had the best week going 2 for 2, minus 0.1 units, brings him to 5-7 overall. But he's still on the positive because of that Vanderbilt money line he had in week 1. He is positive 0.6 units on the year. And the former winner of bets, now placer of bets, Chad Flowers, went a very abysmal 0-4. It's the second straight week we've had a golden sombrero on the show from 2 different people. It is up to me to break this streak, and I think I've got the picks to break it this week. But you were 0-4, Chad, minus 4.4 units. Overall, though, 6-6, you're at 500, still positive. But Hitch has now tied you for the overall lead on top of the leaderboard. You are also positive 0.6 units, and we are here to turn this thing around here in week 4.
Let's do it. Can't get worse. We don't look forward. We don't look backwards. We look forward, right?
I'm about to say, man, you don't want to look backwards right now.
That's fair.
Eyes on the road, man. Tear the rear view mirror off, throw it in the back seat, and let's get on it.
Yeah, but now we've got 3 weeks worth of stats and data, and we should be a lot better, right? Because you don't know what to expect the first few weeks, right? New team. Yeah. I imagine that with all of this new information that we have, we're probably going to do pretty well.
Yeah, if only I would have used it when making money.
Yeah, we've got 3 4-0s coming y'all's way, and we'll just go ahead and dive into that and get this thing started. I'll start it off with our week 4 picks. I'm going to start this thing off on Thursday night. South Alabama is traveling into the mountains and playing App State at their place. I looked at this total, actually got on the total on Monday. I was going to go there, but then I looked. I got it 64.5. I like the under a good deal there. So I got on it at 64.5 on Monday, but it's already moved 2 points. It's down 62.5 as of this recording. Don't like it as much. If you made me pick one way or another, I would still lean under on 62.5. But I'm going to stay away from that, and I'm going to take the Jaguars at plus 7.5. This sat 6.5, 7 most of the week. Look today, ended up getting the hook. It's gone up a little bit. South Alabama has played pretty well so far this year. One thing they do well is they're really good at playing the run, and that's what App State's going to try to do. App State hasn't looked particularly good so far this year. Offense seems really, really anemic, which is one reason I really like that under, obviously. But I will take the road dog that worked out for me pretty well a couple of weeks ago when I went with all the road dogs. So I'm going back to the well one more time, and I'll take the Jaguars +7 and a hook. That just seems too much when you start getting above a touchdown.
Yeah, the Sun Belt's usually a pretty competitive conference. South Alabama's right in there with it. So, yeah, I can't think of any reason why that won't work.
Yeah, I looked at it too. I like the under, just because South Alabama coming off of that just unbelievable performance last week, putting up 90 points. You got to think maybe, and
no, that
right,
didn't count.
I know, right?
Yeah,
and like you said, App State really hasn't looked all that great. I was expecting to see more of them against Clemson, put up a little bit more of a fight in that one, and
yeah,
and both teams like to run the ball, and with that continuing, I don't know about the side here. I didn't really look at too much about that. I'll trust you with USA, but I do like the under, even at 62.5, but I don't love it much less than that.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows what he was talking about with them putting up 90 and me saying it didn't count. I was on the South Alabama over last week. It was in the 60s. It hit by halftime, and because they went to a 6-minute fourth quarter, all bets were canceled. Didn't matter that it hit halftime. So all bets were canceled, and that was just a wash for me. So that was a real good time. Had fun with that one.
I don't think I've ever seen that. I've always seen the disclaimers. I know I've seen the disclaimers. You got to play the full, but I don't think I've ever seen a fourth quarter shortened like that and then canceled bets.
Nuh-uh. Yeah, it sucks. Wish it wouldn't happen, but we move on. Like Chad said, we look forward, not backwards. So give me the Jaguars +7.5. Hitch, what's going to be your first game this week?
So the last 3 weeks, the Western Kentucky secondary has given up 47 for 69 for 798 yards, 6 touchdowns, and averaging 16 yards per catch. Now, if you take out lowly Eastern Kentucky out of that mix, who just had 70 yards passing in the game, that secondary has given up 36 for 49 for 722, 6 touchdowns, and 21 yards per catch.
And we don't want that.
Well, I'm just laying a little bit of groundwork here because the team coming in, right, is the little old team that went down to Starkville, Mississippi, and kind of torched that Bulldogs defense. Put up a bunch of points, right? So through the first 3 games, Toledo's passing attack, 52 for 83 for 739 and 10 touchdowns. The quarterback, I can't remember his name right now. He's got like 4 wide receivers that are really good. I think that they're really going to give the Western Kentucky defense a lot of trouble. I don't love this spot for Toledo coming off of a big win against Mississippi State. I will readily admit that. I don't love that spot. But I think TJ Finley, who is transferred in from Texas State to Western Kentucky, I think he is banged up a little bit. I don't know if he's going to play. And so regardless of the spot, I think that the Toledo offense is too much for the Western Kentucky defense, especially that secondary with or without TJ Finley. And I think they're going to cover the 2.5 on the road. So give me Toledo -2.5. It was 1 earlier in the week, and it's gone up. So I expect it probably to get above a field goal maybe. But it's at 2.5 now. I'm going to take that Toledo 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. If it was anything more than a field goal, I would probably be in the same boat where I got to stay away from it. But under a field goal is, that's probably would be my limit.
I said, I hate the spot. We lost Chad. I dislike the spot. There he is.
Found him.
I dislike the spot a lot. But I think that the way that Toledo is going to attack this Western Kentucky secondary, I don't know that the spot matters. And I hate to say that, but I think they're probably going to just – I expect a lot of points out of Toledo here.
Yeah. A lot of great points there with again, not loving the spot. You can say that over and over and over again. And everybody understands that big road win in Starkville against an SEC team. And then having to play Western Kentucky. And that's probably why you're seeing so much line movement. Maybe people still have that so fresh on their minds. But I couldn't agree with you more. I do like Toledo here under a field goal. like Chad said, that thing starts creeping up over 3 points, then it gets a little bit hairy at that point. But anything under 3, yeah, I think that's a pretty good bet.
Yeah, especially with TJ Finley being out, they rely so much on him for that offense. They throw a lot, and I think their running backs only averaging maybe like 3 yards a carry. So they rely on him a lot. If he's out, I may go up a little bit more for sure. But yeah, three's about the limit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna keep a lot of my breakdowns pretty simple. I've got Army. I've got him at -5.5. Going up against Rice. So Army has had 2 weeks off since their last game. They're going to be prepared. And you obviously have the option attack, which Rice has to prepare for, coming off of yet another loss that they've just had. I believe they lost to, let's see, who did they lose to last week? They lost to Houston, 33-7, right? And Houston has not been fantastic thus far this season. So now they have to go up to West Point and go up against an option team, and I get under a touchdown. I'm pretty comfortable with that. So yeah, give me the Cadets.
Yeah, this was actually the one that I have on my list as well for all the reasons you just mentioned. Rice, not a very good team, didn't put up much of a fight against a Houston team that I don't think is very good, kind of like you said, the option attack, and it's under 6 points. It's not even a full touchdown. Army's played pretty well over the last couple of years, too. They've been more or less a covering machine for about a year and a half, 2 years now. And I think this is a pretty good spot for Army here.
And it's an early game, too. So I always like that when you're the home team. So. All right, Dids, what you got?
All right. I'm going to go with Tulane right here. They're going on the road. All of my picks, by the way, are on the road. That's where I seem to have some success. I'm sticking with it. Tulane has really played well so far this year. They've played 2 Power 4 teams, 2 really good Power 4 teams, Oklahoma, Kansas State. Really hung in with Kansas State there for a while, had a real shot at beating them there. That one was in New Orleans. They go on the road to Oklahoma. Hung in that game for a while. Oklahoma was able to pull away later on in the game. But I really, really like what John Summerall's doing down there in New Orleans. He's got this team rolling pretty good. I think their defense plays really well, and they can really move the ball. They've shown it twice already. Oklahoma is an elite defense for all of the troubles that they've had up front, which we might end up getting into later on in the show. I think they're really bad on that offensive line. But that defense, both the front seven, the secondary, they are an elite defensive team. Tulane was able to hold their own. They're going on the road to Louisiana Lafayette. The Cajuns have played pretty well so far this year. Haven't quite played the competition Tulane has. I'm taking Tulane -3. It's only a field goal. I think Tulane is one of the better group of 5 teams. They're not a team that obviously you're hearing for playoff spot and all that since they've already got 2 losses. But again, that's Oklahoma, that's Kansas State, one of those on the road. Really like what the Green Wave and John Summerall are doing down there right now. So I'll take the Green Wave minus a field goal on the road.
Dids, does the fact that it's just 3 make you curious at all?
Because you think, it absolutely makes me curious.
Yeah, considering how they played against those big schools, that's a curious number.
Yeah,
there's a lot of those this week.
That's about to say, I saw so many of those numbers this week, though. Just kind of hoping maybe the market hasn't caught up quite yet. But obviously, if it's a sucker bet, then I'm a sucker. I'll eat it, and I will move on with my life after that. But, with it only being 3, I was curious. But, again, I bet you I found 10 of those so far, just looking up and down the board ever since Monday.
Yeah, and you said it, too, that with 2 losses, you're probably looking at being left out of the playoff as that group of 5 team, Tulane, the representative. But looking towards the future, I don't know, you don't want to look too far into the future, right? But these are the kind of games that Tulane has to go and win convincingly to be able to make the playoff. Even if they had beaten one of those other 2 teams, Kansas State or Oklahoma, and then go and win by a point, or, at ULL, right? So looking forward, I think that these are the kind of games that Tulane's going to have to be up for and win. And I don't love it at -3, but I think if it were 10, I might still be on it too. Like it's one of those weird numbers that I don't like because it's so low. But even if it went higher, I might like it more if it were higher. I don't. That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I got one following up on Chad's there. The Memphis versus Navy. Memphis going to Navy plus 9.5. I like the midshipmen here. It feels like a big time letdown spot for Memphis. Going to Tallahassee and then pulling off that win and having to go up to Annapolis and have to go against this triple option attack, right? Last year in this game, it was a big line. Memphis gave up 299 yards on the ground, 6 yards a carry. And while they've been a little bit better this year on the rushing attack, Navy rushes 73% a game, and they're 54% successful on that. On the flip side, Memphis sees rushes about 47% of the time, and they're only 40% successful in stopping those. And so I just feel like 10 points is too much for Navy at home, coming off of the spot that Memphis is in. Memphis probably wins the game, but I'm going to take Navy to cover it plus 9.5. Oh, there's also, I didn't look it up, but I'm sure that there is some trend for service academies, at home like this. That service academies tend to cover when they're big lines at home. So that plays into it as well.
Yeah. This is another spot, kind of like you talked about Memphis coming back from Tallahassee with that big road win. This is another one of those numbers that just you kind of look at and think, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because I would have put Memphis as a double-digit favorite at the very least. Here, Navy's not particularly good. Memphis has looked really, really good so far this year, even though they went on the road and beat basically a dead Florida State team at this point. But I do understand the reasoning behind it. I would like to point out that you are using the spot on this one, but not really caring about the spot with Toledo either, right? So you're kind of flip-flopping with me pretty early on the first two picks.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I don't think that the spot for Memphis is as big as the one for Toledo, right? Like, I don't think Florida State is as good as everybody thinks they are. So I think that that's why I use the term feels like a big spot, but I don't know that it necessarily is. So
I get it.
There's an explanation for that.
Okay. Yep. All right. Mine next, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
you're up, Chad.
All right. So this one right here is a pure spot play. Raging Cajuns +3. And here's why I like the other side of you, Dids.
All right.
Lafayette's had 2 weeks to prepare. They come off a bye. I always like a bye. They like to run the ball. Tulane just played Kansas State and Oklahoma. Two physical teams. Now, it's early in the season, and they're still young kids. Two physical teams. They got to go to Lafayette, where they like to run the ball. I just like the spot a lot more. You're having to get up 2 weeks in a row. Now you've got going to somebody's house, an in-state rivalry. I don't know that they haven't played too much in their history, but it's still Tulane's become a bigger program, so you got to think Lafayette's going to be pumped for it. So, like I said, pure spot play. I got +3 at home, Cajuns.
This is the first one of it this year, right?
Yeah,
this is the first time
you have already absolutely crushed my prediction of this show going 12-0 this coming up weekend.
We can push. We can go 11-0-1. We can go 11-0-1.
That's something to shoot for. A push. Yeah.
Well, I'm going for 11-1. So, all right, I will go ahead and move on to my next one after that. Down in Tallahassee, Florida, the Florida State Seminoles, they are in a really, really bad spot here, right? They are 0-3, team full of transfers. Tell me if y'all have heard this before. Once losses start piling up a little bit, when you have some sort of expectations, these guys are in there for a paycheck and a playoff spot, wanting to win a national championship. When all of that stuff is out the window, you have guys starting to quit on you. Think about
Jeremiah Masoli.
2022 Ole Miss when we started, 7-1, 8-1, whatever it was. And then we ended up having the 3 losses in a row. All Kiffin to Auburn stuff started, and we had no business losing to the Arkansas team, the Mississippi State team, right? We were better than both of those. And everything just kind of crumbled from underneath us at that point. I feel like that's what's happening here. And Cal is a good team. They've already proven they can go on the road and win. They just 2 weeks ago went on the road to Auburn and beat an SEC team. I know you're flying across country. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago when they played in Auburn. But this is a really, really well-coached team, a really good defense. And DJ Uiagalelei hasn't showed that he can do anything against any defense, much less a good one. Probably take a look at this total as well. But I love Cal here. They're +2.5. I really like them to win outright, but I went for a much higher number on my money line play instead of picking this one. So I'll take the Cal Bears +2.5 in Tallahassee.
It almost seems too easy, right?
It does. As a matter of fact, it seems so easy. I forgot I bet it on Monday, and when I was getting everything together today, I turned around and went, "Oh yeah, I've got to bet that game." So I bet it again just to find out that I already had one in for it. So I'm double dipping on the Bears apparently.
Okay, all right. There's no way it fails.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's right.
I wanted Florida State on this one bad. Like, tried to find a reason to get Florida State because you've got Cal coming to Auburn, playing 85 plays on defense, coming back to San Diego State, playing. I mean, it was a 31-10 game, but it was a physical game. It was actually closer than that. And then having to go all the way back to Florida State in a rowdy place to play. That's just it's tough. But at the same time, I couldn't find a single reason to pick Florida State to cover a field goal. So I stayed away from it. Yeah.
You've got shot putters that throw better balls than DJ.
You really crazy. It's bad. It's bad. And they're not good up front on either side of the ball either. They're getting beat on both sides of the line of scrimmage, offensively, defensively. And if they do give DJ any kind of time, he can't hit a receiver. Even a simple throw to the flats there 3 yards away, you can't even hit those either. No reason to think that that's going to change this week. And again, if that's one of the sucker bets that's going to get me, then I'll just eat it. And it sounds like I might end up being plumb full by the end of the weekend.
Sounds like you might be a damn sucker for us over with.
Sounds like it. All right, Hitch, what you got next, man?
All right. Since 2021, Oregon State against the spread as a home team, 16-4.
I like this.
As a home favorite, 13-3. And as a favorite outright, 19-11. Since 2001, they are 5-0 at home, coming off of a straight up loss. Now, Oregon got them last week. Yeah, who is Oregon? Right, I had no idea. Right, the first 2 weeks, you don't know the identity of this team really because they barely beat, was it South Dakota State maybe or something, or maybe that was Oklahoma State, whatever. And then they, squeaked by, or they had that tough game with Boise State. And then they come out and just demolish, it felt like, Oregon State, who had been playing pretty good. But yeah, I think that Oregon State, their offensive attack really matches up with the Purdue weaknesses on defense, specifically the running the football. They run the ball 55% of the time. Last week, Notre Dame had 2 100-yard rushers, including Riley Leonard, the quarterback. The quarterback from Oregon State runs the ball, can run the ball well. And, it really comes down to the trend here. Like that's what I started looking at when I saw that trend. They're 5-0 straight after a straight up loss. I started trying to find stuff, and it really Purdue after last week. I don't know that they can be trusted on defense or offense, and so I like Oregon State at home -4.5. I wish it were 4, but I like it. But now there are some warts in this Oregon State defense too. I found that as I was looking, so I wouldn't get much more over a touchdown here, but at 4.5, I feel pretty confident.
Yeah, that's pretty detailed. I can't really refute that. I'm already on Oregon State too. It's not going to be one of my three, but I've already got a ticket for them. I like them in this spot for sure.
Yep, totally agree. All right, Chad, what's your third one?
All right, so I like Louisville -10 against Georgia Tech. Obviously, we've talked about Florida State. That win against Florida State in the opener does not look near as good as it did for Georgia Tech. Coming off a loss at Syracuse, where Syracuse threw the ball pretty well. Louisville, I mean, I guess this is my trend, betting on teams that are coming off of a bye, because this is my third one. I just realized that they didn't play last week and they play this week. ACC opener, they're at home. They have looked really impressive in their 2 wins. Now, it was against Jacksonville State and Austin Peay. Jacksonville State's defense is awful. Awful. But
So
they're still averaging, almost 8 yards a play in both of their games. I just like them in this spot. I think that they're a lot better than people may even think. I think they're going to be a sneaky team in the ACC overall, and I like them to show up and show out Saturday at home -10.
Yeah, I didn't even look at this one because it's got Georgia Tech included in it, and I can't get Georgia Tech right. I haven't been able to get Georgia Tech right since college. I don't know what it is, so I just didn't even look at it. But I did see that Louisville is a very good running team, probably one of the top running teams in the ACC, and that probably gives Georgia Tech a little bit of trouble. I think it'll be I think this is going to low key one of the more fun games to watch on Saturday. That's not getting talked about.
Yeah. Louisville's been playing really well so far this year. They're probably at worst the third best ACC team. It's throw them, Clemson, Miami all in a hat, and just see what comes out of there. Really impressed with Louisville so far. This is another game I'll look at. Do what?
I said Clemson ain't coming out of that hat.
You don't reckon so?
Nope.
I guess we'll find out later on in the year. But yeah, I do like Louisville here, though. This is one of the other games that I looked at. I've been impressed with them so far. So we will go into our plus money plays. Unless you're the placer of bets, then you make up your own rules for your fourth bet. At least me and Hitch are going to have the plus money play.
It didn't fucking work anyway.
No, it didn't work. Well, that's because you went with fucking Southern Miss, dude. I mean, what are you doing? That's on you. Okay? On you.
It was close for a little while.
Big burn.
Yeah. So I'm going to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The Tar Heels are welcoming James Madison into town right here. Saw North Carolina play Minnesota in that week 0 game. Wasn't overly impressed with the Tar Heels. Really, really sluggish offensively. Came out with a 19-17 win because Minnesota missed that field goal at the end of the game that would have won it. And then they play Charlotte after that. They put up 38 points, but they give up 20 to a lowly 49ers offense. If I'm not mistaken, that didn't even have their starting quarterback at the time. And then North Carolina Central, they win 45-10. The only game they've looked impressive was against an FCS school. Wasn't even overly impressive against Charlotte. And then Minnesota, as I said, 19-17. Now, James Madison hasn't played anybody either, right? They've also played Charlotte. They went to Charlotte and won 30-7. So the defense played a lot better against a 49ers club that did have their starting quarterback at the time. Then they kind of scuffled a little bit with Gardner Webb, only winning 13-6. The reason I'm going with James Madison here, though, I get it at plus 330, and this is a team defensively that is going to give themselves a chance to win. Do I expect them to go in and win the game? Probably not. I think it's a 10.5 point line, something like that. But if you're going to give me a little better than 3-1 odds with a team that can stop the run the way they do, North Carolina's kind of shifted their philosophy a little bit offensively. They want to try to run the ball on you, eat up a little bit of clock, gotten away from that air raid from when they had Phil Longo, a coordinator, and Drake May, a quarterback. Obviously, they're not there anymore. So they try to run the ball. James Madison going to key on that, try to make them beat them through the air. I'm not 100% convinced they can do it. So a little better than 3-1 at plus 330. I'll take the Dukes on the road in Chapel Hill.
Yeah. This was a game I liked. I liked them at the current number for sure, 10.5. That's the one that I may look to play myself. Don't know if I can get to the money line, but I do like the Dukes to play them close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually love this one. This one was on my short list for moneyline plays, and it was definitely on my short list at +10. I will be on probably James Madison, but yeah, I agree with you. The defensive side, the way that North Carolina has struggled on offense, and the way that James Madison has historically played defense the past few years, coming into the FBS, you got to have that's got to help you make that decision as far as knowing that their defense is solid and is going to stand. And if North Carolina can't score, you're looking at a low scoring game, and
anything
crazy things happen in that. Yeah. No, I like that one. I'm going to go with a parlay again, like last week. Just some short home favorites. Oklahoma State, right? Maybe Ollie Gordon gets going. I don't know that he's broken out yet. I don't know, but they're a short dog at home. Coastal Carolina. This is one of the more surprising lines on the board for me. The reason I didn't get on it is because it just confused me. At +3 actually at home. So I'm adding them to the parlay. I think they might win outright. And then the big one here is Michigan, right? Give me the Michigan money line. All right. USC has not won a game in the Eastern or the Central time zone since September of 2012. 8 straight losses in the Eastern time zone or Central time zone. So, and Michigan's a short. They're not that short. I think they're like 185 maybe plus. But throw them in there for a 3-game parlay at +1402.
Oh wow, that'd be a big one for you.
Yeah, mine's not quite as large. I like Coastal Carolina. That's why I have them in a moneyline parlay with Lafayette.
Okay. What'd you get that?
I got it at 447, I believe, or 474. I'll have to get the exact number.
That Michigan really bumped mine up.
Yeah. I was on board until you got down to Michigan. I have no faith in the Wolverines being able to move the ball, score. But if they're going to do it against anybody, it's going to be against a Lincoln Riley-led team. He's notorious for having soft, weak defenses. You've seen it in his tenure so far at USC. Michigan did make a quarterback change. I like to think that if he was really good, then he probably would have won it right out of camp because the other guy really sucked. As we've seen the first few weeks. So I don't expect a lot out of him, but I guess there is a sliver of hope of just changing things up, having a new voice in the huddle and a new leader on the field. But I would still lean USC. But again, kind of like you said, stranger things have happened, and going on the road, playing in the big house, all of that. So, I mean, that stuff does still matter. It's still a big raucous atmosphere.
Yeah. Dids, by the way, it's 474, and it's just a half unit on that.
Okay. 474. 4.5. All right, guys. Well, before we get out of here, something we kind of talked about we want to start doing, so we're going to implement it this week on the show. We're going to go through every SEC line, not doing full breakdowns of all the games or anything like that. That would be super long, but just kind of give your initial thought on which way you would lean with these SEC games. I've got them in order by start time. We will start down in Starkville, Mississippi, Florida, -6 against Mississippi State.
I would like to lean onto the barrel of a gun with this one. I don't want anything to do with this one or Arkansas, Auburn. But I mean, I think you have to go with the home team. I don't see how Florida in the swamp, right? Doesn't take care of business. How can they come on the road to Davis Wade Stadium and do the same thing and not do the same thing? State +6.5, especially if it gets to 7 or above that, I think you have to take State. Truly, probably the over. I think the over in this one. I don't know that either defense is going to be stopping anybody. So I may swap over and say the over is my bet for this one.
All right. Well, that wasn't an option, so cancel.
Why wasn't an option? You said which way would you lean in this game? I'm leaning towards the over.
Because I actually gave you a line, Florida -6 on the road in Starkville.
Okay.
I also
State.
Mississippi
I'll take State.
Yeah, I also lean that way again.
Same here.
Not real excited about either one of them, but give me the home team +6 there. I think we're all in agreement there. After that, the Ohio Bobcats go on the road in Lexington against Kentucky. Kentucky is 20-point favorites. For me, I will take Ohio,
Same here.
even though Kentucky played well against Georgia. I have no confidence that they can score enough to cover 20.
That's a big number.
Yeah. Y'all all in agreement, sir?
Ohio can score.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay.
And coming
All
up the game
right,
against
after that-
Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. After that, Arkansas goes on the road to the Plains. Auburn -3. Where do you lean there?
Arkansas. I think they have the better
Yeah.
offense. They've got the better quarterback situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm leaning
I'd
Arkansas
go money
there as
line,
well.
though. I wouldn't play the 3. I mean, yes, if you're making
That's not an option, Chad.
No, that's true.
It's
That's
gotta
what I'm
be-
saying. Because
Jesus
that's
Christ. I know y'all are so bad.
I like
at
this
that.
over too,
All right,
by the way.
UCLA going on the road to Baton Rouge. The Tigers are -24. Home team laying another really big number here against Power 4 team.
Tigers. I don't know how you can take UCLA in their current state.
I don't either.
They're
Yeah,
awful.
Either.
right there with you.
I looked at this one.
Because I think
tried
LSU
to
can
get this
score
one.
enough.
Yes.
Offense is really good. Nussmeier's played well. I'll take the Tigers at home -24. Vanderbilt on the road against Missouri -20.5. I think this was actually pretty interesting. I think if I had to lean one way or another, I'm not going to bet it, but give me the Commodores getting almost 3 touchdowns on the road. Missouri's played really well, really explosive offense. Maybe Vanderbilt can score just enough, though, to keep this thing under 20.5.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of like on that same fence. I would take Missouri just because I think that they're a little bit more firepower, but I don't love it either way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Missouri. Yeah, I think Missouri with that defense, Diego Pavia, is probably going to have a decent game running around, but I think Missouri does enough to probably cover this one.
All right, and Akron is going on the road to Columbia, South Carolina. South Carolina -28.5. I don't have any update, haven't seen anything about Lenora Sellers. If you tell me that Robbie Ashford's the quarterback, I will be personally hammering Akron here just because I think he sucks so bad they're not going to be able to score 28 points, much less cover 8.5.
Yeah, if it's over 28, I like Akron.
Yeah, same here. All right. This is a really good game. Another one that I bet on Monday. Wanted to get this locked in because I thought it was going to shoot up, and it hasn't done anything. That scares the hell out of me. Volunteers -7 on the road at Oklahoma. Like we talked about, Oklahoma has this really good defense, and they're going to need it because, boy, Tennessee can put up points in a hurry. Do not like Oklahoma's offensive line, though. Jackson Arnold's played pretty well, but he is running for his life back there. I love the Volunteers
Against
-7
Tulane.
on the road.
Yeah,
Against Tulane, yeah.
The Tennessee defensive line has been a wrecking crew, and
Uh-huh.
I can't. I mean, if it gets over 7, then I think you have, just because it's in Norman, I would have to maybe lean Oklahoma. But even then, I mean, just Tennessee looks like a force, and until they show me otherwise, I have to think that they can cover a touchdown at home,
Yeah.
even if it's on the road in Norman.
Yeah, this is another one of those silly ones that we've been talking about the whole show. I don't. This one, when I looked at it, I thought, oh, Tennessee for sure. But yeah, that's the only bet at under 7.
Yeah. I would take Tennessee all the way up to 10, 11, maybe even 12 points. If you told me that they won by 2 touchdowns, I'm not even remotely surprised. Quite frankly, I expect them to. So we all like the Volunteers there. Bowling Green going on the road to College Station against Texas A&M -22.5. Look, I think this is a spot where the Aggies might have found their quarterback. I was wrong on Wegman. I thought that he was going to be a good player, a good quarterback. Hasn't looked good in the games he's played so far. Marcel Reed went down to the Swamp and really did play well for them, though. If Wegman is available, I think I still go with Reed the way he looked down there. I will take the Aggies -22.5. I don't think that's enough.
I think
Nope.
I think it's plenty. I think Bowling Green's going to be able to play scrappy. They played scrappy against Penn State.
Penn State.
They've got a pretty good defense. And Texas A&M does not have a dynamic offense. I would love 24, but since you give me 3 touchdowns over that, I'll take Bowling Green.
Yeah, I like Bowling Green in this one too. Just watching them play Penn State, like Chad said, they're scrappy. Texas A&M going to prove it to me. And I know we've talked about spots the whole time, and it wasn't necessarily a huge spot going to the Swamp to win, but I think for Texas A&M it was, because if they lose that game, they're in a world of trouble. And so I think maybe you have a letdown game coming back home against this scrappy Bowling Green bunch. I like Bowling Green at plus 23.
Okay. Next one up, Georgia Southern makes a trip to Oxford, Mississippi. Ole Miss minus 35. I'm kind of in the same boat with Ole Miss as I am Tennessee. I'm going to keep betting them until they don't cover. They're a covering machine right now.
Yeah.
Give me the Rebels minus 35, even though I do think Georgia Southern's a pretty good group of 5 team.
Yeah.
With a number this big, I usually don't get too much involved, but yeah, 35 sounds. I would probably play anywhere up to 4. Once it got over 38, I'd probably be out.
Yeah, I'd probably play.
Same.
I would play Georgia Southern at the current number at that 35. But if it got any lower than that, I would probably look at. It's just these big numbers are so.
Yeah.
I don't know, especially what you got SEC coming up next week. And the first SEC game, you don't think that Ole Miss is looking forward to that, but they could be, and this could very easily be a blowout at 42-10, and so and so I just don't know that I like Georgia Southern at less than I'm gonna be on Georgia Southern if it stays at 35.
Yeah. All right, last game here. Louisiana Monroe going on the road to play the Texas Longhorns. Again, Texas looks like an absolute wrecking ball right now. They are 44.5-point favorites. Monroe has played pretty well so far this year. They look like a completely different team. For that reason, I think I will lean Monroe, but I'm going to look like an idiot for it. It's just way too many points.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not involved, but I've got the cushion of over 42, if that's even a thing. But I'll take. I would take Monroe.
Same. Yeah. Same.
Okay.
It's just so difficult to cover that many points.
It is,
It's especially if you're trying to get guys playing time, and the first half will probably start off really quickly, and then in the second half you may see ULM score a couple trash touchdowns, and there's nothing worse than being on the 40-point line and getting a trash touchdown. I mean, it's not a bad beat, but it really feels like it. So I would stay away from this one. But if anything, I'd probably go with the big line.
Yep. All right. So that's what we got in the SEC. That wraps us up for today. Gives you the entire slate from not only the SEC but different conferences around the country. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope to see y'all back with us again next week. I will be recording an interview with Gata Talk host for a Georgia Southern preview later on tonight. So y'all make sure to tune into that after y'all watch this. It'll be on all of the same channels, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So that should be a lot of fun. But appreciate y'all tuning in. Hopefully we are able to win y'all some money. And if things keeps going this way, keep tuning in each week and just keep fading us. Kind of like we said, you can make money one way or another. It's all about how you play. We'll keep giving them out each and every week. Hitch, placer of bets. I appreciate y'all being here once again, and we will talk to y'all again next week.